My name is Delilah, and I am 26 years old. At my sister's rehearsal dinner, the air felt too tight, like everyone was holding their breath without knowing why. Crystal chandeliers glittered above us. Champagne glasses clinked, and soft music played in the background. But my chest felt heavy the moment my parents stood up. I already knew that look on my mother's face. Polite smile stretched too thin, eyes sharp with intention. My father cleared his throat, tapping his glass with a spoon, demanding attention. Conversations faded. Forks paused midair. Every single guest turned toward them, waiting for words that would soon carve themselves into my memory forever. At my sister's rehearsal dinner, my parents stood up and announced. My father said loudly, pride swelling in his voice, "We're paying for everything because our real daughter deserves it." Unlike some people, the words echoed across the room like a slap. A few people laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a joke. Others froze. And then, slowly, painfully, the whole room turned to look at me. I felt dozens of eyes on my face, searching for tears, anger, or shame. My sister avoided my gaze. My mother sipped her wine as if nothing cruel had just been said. In that moment, every memory of my childhood rushed back, being reminded. I was lucky to be taken in, hearing whispers about how I didn't really belong, how love always came with conditions. They had never said it so openly before, never in front of so many people. But now, at a dinner meant to celebrate family, they had stripped me of mine. I smiled. I picked up my glass slowly, my hand steady despite the storm inside me. My heart was racing, but my face stayed calm. Years of swallowing pain had taught me how to hide it well. I stood up, meeting my mother's eyes, then my father's. I could see confusion flicker across their faces. They expected me to break. They expected silence. Instead, I spoke. But before I tell you what I said, you need to understand how we got here, how I became the not real daughter in a family I had given everything to. I grew up in that house believing love was something you earned by being useful. I was the quiet one, the responsible one, the girl who worked part-time jobs through college so I wouldn't be a burden. My sister, on the other hand, was celebrated for simply existing. When bills were due, I helped. When my parents needed something explained, fixed, or managed, I was there. Still, it was never enough. I was always reminded, subtly and sometimes not so subtly, that I was different. What no one at that table knew, what my parents never bothered to ask, was how much of their comfortable life rested on my shoulders. The house they lived in, the cars they drove, the lights that stayed on without worry. None of it was as simple as they pretended. I had made sacrifices quietly, without applause, without thanks. I let them believe their comfort came from their own hard work, because I thought that's what love meant. As the silence stretched after their announcement, I realized something had shifted inside me. I was done shrinking, done protecting people who had never protected me. That dinner wasn't just a celebration for my sister. It was the moment my parents chose humiliation over kindness, and I decided right then and there that I would no longer carry their lies on my back. The room buzzed with tension. My mother's smile faltered. My father looked annoyed, as if my standing up was already an inconvenience. They had no idea what was coming. They had no idea how close they were to the truth unraveling in front of everyone they cared to impress. I raised my glass a little higher, my smile still in place, and prepared to say the 3 words that would make my mother's face go white. I lifted my glass, the soft clink cutting through the silence, and finally said the 3 words that made my mother's face go white. I paid everything. For a split second, no one reacted. It was as if my words hadn't registered yet. Then I saw it. The slow drain of color from my mother's cheeks, the way her lips parted without sound, the sharp inhale my father tried and failed to hide. Whispers rippled through the room like a sudden breeze. I didn't rush. I let the moment sit there, heavy and undeniable because for once, the truth deserved space. I looked around the table, at relatives who had watched me grow up, at strangers who had just heard me be publicly dismissed as not their real daughter. My voice didn't shake when I continued. I told them how, for years, I had quietly transferred money every month to cover the mortgage. When my parents fell short, how the car payments, my father bragged about affording were often paid from my savings. How the business loan they claimed was a blessing from hard work was approved. Because I co-signed it, risking my own credit at 22. Each sentence landed like a dropped plate. You could almost hear things cracking. My father tried to interrupt me, his voice rising, accusing me of lying, of trying to steal attention from my sister on her special night. But numbers don't lie. I pulled out my phone and calmly read dates, amounts, bank confirmations. My mother stared at the tablecloth like it might swallow her whole. This was the moment the mask fell. At my sister's rehearsal dinner, when my parents stood up and announced, "We're paying for everything because our real daughter deserves it." Unlike some people, they believed they were powerful. But power built on lies is fragile, and I was done protecting it. I didn't insult them. I didn't raise my voice. That restraint somehow hurt them more. I told them I never asked for credit, because I thought family meant, you give without keeping score. But family also doesn't humiliate you in front of a room full of people. Family doesn't erase you with a sentence. As I spoke, I saw understanding dawn on a few faces. An aunt who suddenly remembered how often I worked late. Cousin who recalled me skipping vacations. The room wasn't on my parents' side anymore. It wasn't even neutral. It was awake. My sister finally looked at me then. Really looked at me, and for the first time, I saw confusion instead of superiority. She had believed the story my parents told her, that everything was handled, that I was just dramatic, distant, ungrateful. I wasn't there to ruin her wedding. I was there because I had been invited, because I still believed I belonged. That belief shattered quietly inside me as I finished speaking. My father slammed his hand on the table, demanding we talk privately, demanding respect. I smiled again, smaller this time, tired. Respect, I realized, was always something I was expected to give, never receive. I told them there would be no private conversation tonight. Not after what they said. Not after years of silence on my part. If they could claim me publicly, they could face the truth publicly too. I set my glass down and said one last thing. That, starting tonight, I was done paying. No more transfers, no more safety nets, no more pretending I was invisible. The shock on their faces was almost childlike. They had built their comfort on my loyalty, and they had mistaken my kindness for weakness. Around us, guests shifted uncomfortably, suddenly aware they were witnessing the end of something, not just a family argument, but an illusion. I left the dinner early. No dramatic exit, no tears. Just a quiet walk out into the cool night air, where I finally breathed freely. For the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying their secrets, their image, their finances. I was carrying only myself. My phone buzzed later with messages, some apologetic, some angry, some silent. I didn't respond. Healing, I learned that night, sometimes begins with distance. Weeks later, I heard my parents had to downsize. Bills piled up. Conversations they avoided for years became unavoidable. And me? I slept better. I laughed louder. I stopped trying to earn a place that should have been mine by default. Being called not their real daughter hurt, but it also freed me. Because I finally understood something simple and powerful. Real family isn't defined by blood or titles or who stands up at a rehearsal dinner to boast. It's defined by respect, honesty, and love without conditions. That night didn't just expose who paid their bills. It revealed who I really was, someone who survived dismissal, found her voice, and chose herself.